7056 for an opportunity to discuss your situation. Edward Jones, Making Sense of Investing, member SIPC.
Did you know GoodRx can help you save on medication, manage prescriptions, and get trusted health information? If you're one of the millions living with a heart condition, check GoodRx for an easier, more affordable way to manage your health. GoodRx offers common heart medications for under $30. Just search for your prescription, find the best price, then show your pharmacist the GoodRx coupon. And it works whether you have insurance or not. To start saving and better manage your heart health, download the free app or visit goodrx.com today. GoodRx is not insurance but can be used instead of insurance, including Medicare and other federal and state-funded programs.
It's All That's News with Matt Lane on News Radio WGNS.
CBS National News and Traffic are coming up on All That's News.
Portions of our programming have been pre-recorded. The Good Neighbor Network, WGNS Murfreesboro, W270AF Murfreesboro, W263AI Murfreesboro, Smyrna.
This is CBS News on the Hour, your home for original reporting.
I'm Jennifer Kuiper. Wealthy nations pledge a record release of emergency oil reserves, but that oil still needs to be refined before it gets to consumers. And driver Morgan Howard in Atlanta says of the rising gas prices,
I pay attention to gas. Ridiculous. It's sad.
More from CBS's Linda Kenyon.
The president says he will tap the U.S.'s Strategic Petroleum Reserve. Speaking in Hebron, Kentucky, Trump also announced international action.
The International Energy Agency agreed to coordinate the release of a record 400 million barrels of oil from various national petroleum reserves around the world.
The president added higher prices during the Iran war are temporary.
We got to finish the job.
Iran has attacked commercial ships across the Persian Gulf region, further affecting global oil prices. Linda Kenyon, CBS News, the White House.
Iran is ramping up its drone strikes in the Gulf region as the U.S. and Israel press forward with their efforts to eliminate targets still important to the regime inside Iran. This escalation in fighting has turned into a battle over the Strait of Hormuz. CBS's Matt Gutman in Tel Aviv.
They hit 3 ships passing through the straits. One of them was hit by some sort of projectile. We believe it was a suspected drone that gouged a massive hole in the hull of this tanker. It's sitting in the narrowest part of the Strait of Hormuz right now, still smoking.
Tornadoes have killed at least 2 people in their Lake Village, Indiana home and destroyed buildings in Illinois. Indiana State Police Sergeant Glenn Fifield says first responders were out as soon as possible.
Very dangerous circumstances with live power lines down, going into situations that were very unsafe.
President Trump is pushing Republican senators to pass the SAVE Act. CBS's Caitlin Huey-Burns on Capitol Hill.
John Thune, the Senate Majority Leader, the Republican, has said, statement of fact, the votes just aren't there. You would need Democratic support to pass this. The votes aren't there. There are these calls to essentially blow up the filibuster to pass this legislation, and the votes for that aren't there yet either.
A new study finds that drugs like Ozempic can help diabetic people who have brain cancer.
Researchers used the TriNet X Global Network, a database comprised of 151 healthcare organizations around the world. It found that diabetics whose cancer is spread to the brain can live significantly longer if they are taking a GLP-1 drug. The study found that the use of such drugs is associated with the lower all-cause mortality, which remains consistent across major cancer groups. Allison Keyes, CBS News.
This is CBS News.
Join Adriana Diaz and Kelly O'Grady for the perfect start to your weekend. Ease into your Saturday with CBS Saturday Morning on CBS and streaming on Paramount Plus.
Okay, class, let's begin.
Psst, love your boots. I just sold a pair like that on eBay.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it took like 2 seconds to list, and they sold almost immediately. I've been selling everything lately. Some chunky boots, a faux fur coat I never wore, and a vintage chair that was more of an expensive clothing rack.
You know, I actually bought these on eBay. Wait, are you Kitty Sell Stuff from Brooklyn?
Okay, quiet please.
Find what you love, sell what you don't. eBay, things people love.
I move mountains for a living. Literally. That means I don't carry hand lotion, and when it comes to serious heartburn, I don't mess around with anything but Rolaids. Rolaids' dual-active formula has calcium carbonate and magnesium hydroxide that relieves heartburn fast. Yeah, you heard right. 2 actives for that powerful relief. And the best part? The roll fits right here in my pocket, so I can get back to moving mountains.
Rolade spells powerful relief. Reach like use as directed. Keep out of reach of children.
Sunspot.
Good afternoon. Wrapping up that wreck 65 southbound right here at the North Loop. It's heavy, we would expect, on 65 pushing down into Brentwood, Franklin. All these storms moving through our area, not helping rush hour traffic, making things even harder on 40 westbound as you work your way through Kingston Springs out towards Dixon County. Again, it's heavy out here in these showers. Hey, STR Towing and Recovery says call them 24/7 if you need their help with a tow for a car or a truck. I'm Commander Chuck, your on-time traffic.
Local farmers, local meats, vegetables, and other produce at the Winter Spring Rutherford County Farmers Market.
Bundle up and make your way every Friday at Lane Agri Park.
Rutherford weather.
A severe thunderstorm watch continues until 8 p.m. tonight. Cloudy skies expected tonight with storms likely. Lows around 38. I'm WGNS meteorologist Derek Height. Right now, 76.
We do it your way, Sir Pizza.
You can order Murfreesboro's favorite pizza online, sirpizzatn.com. Carry out and delivery for dinner tonight at sirpizzatn.com.
We're the Good Neighbor Network. FM 101.9 and AM 1450 Murfreesboro. FM 100.5 Smyrna. Audio and video streaming at wgnsradio.com.
From the first pitch to the final buzzer, this is where the conversation starts. All sports talk on WGNS and Big G TV, covering the Preps, MTSU, news from Tennessee and nationwide. Now, here's All Sports Talk on the Good Neighbor Network.
Yes, just because it's Wednesday and just because it's spring break does not mean that the All Sports Talk train stops. Dylan Simmons with you live in the WGNS studio. This is the Good Neighbor Network, and this is All Sports Talk on a somewhat rainy Wednesday afternoon. We had some storms roll in just a little bit earlier. Thunder, lightning. I was in the Bragg building over at MTSU. Big thunderbolt, big lightning bolt came down, and it startled me. But the good news is everyone's okay, and we're here for All Sports Talk. That's the best thing we could ask for. Looking forward to a great show tonight. Got a very special guest who's going to join us in just a second to talk about the upcoming girls basketball state tournament and his journey with his team to get there. With that said, we want to go ahead and welcome him on to the show. Joining us via the phone, Mr. Tyler Sapp of the Van Buren Eaglettes is with us tonight. Man, I know very well from past experiences and being a student at Van Buren County High School. Coach Sapp, how's it going?
It's going great. How are you doing?
Man, it's great to have you on, and I'd say you've had probably a pretty interesting whirlwind over the last few days and last few weeks to get to this point at the state tournament, but man, it's cool to talk to you. Glad we could get you on the show. We'd kind of been hoping that we could plan this out for a bit, and I was hoping you guys could get into the state tournament so we could make this happen. So it's great to have you on the show, and looking forward to talking to you just a little bit tonight. So first thing I got to ask is, how are you feeling? How's the team feeling after punching their ticket to the state tournament this past weekend?
They're excited. Anytime you punch a ticket to play at the Murphy Center, you're going to be excited. It's a huge accomplishment, and they're excited. They're raring to go and play tomorrow night. So we've just been kind of game planning and been trying to get prepared as much as we possibly can this week for our opponent there tomorrow night.
Yeah, and I think as of right now, that's the thing as a team and as a coach, what you're trying to do is get everybody ready to go, because as far as big moments go, it doesn't get much bigger in the world of Tennessee State basketball than going to the Glass House. Now, you've been doing this coaching thing for a while now, Coach Sapp, but I want to know, what is it that originally got you into coaching basketball and following the path that you have now today?
I've just always wanted to, from as long as I can remember, wanted to, teach and coach basketball since, I want to be a teacher since I was in fourth grade. Probably didn't want to coach basketball in fourth grade, but that probably came later and when I was in high school and that kind of stuff. I had a really good high school coach that I thought a lot of, and I thought that'd be a good way to impact kids and that kind of stuff. So, teacher, fourth grade, probably want to be a coach around high school.
Yeah, man, that's cool that you've kind of had that in mind, at least for a little while. And you've had a great journey to get here. Now, I do know that you played a little bit of basketball back in your prep days. I want to ask, how does Tyler Sapp, the coach, differ from Tyler Sapp, the player?
Well, I was not very good as a player. I was all right, I guess.
Hey, I'm right there with you. It's okay.
But I think, a lot of the things, coaching-wise, I kind of do a lot of stuff probably different than what I had, especially like my senior year or in high school. But I do a lot of stuff the same too that we kind of did when I was in high school. But obviously I think I'm a much better coach than I ever was a player. And and sometimes you got a really good player that becomes a really good coach, and sometimes you got a good player that isn't. So I just think I'm fortunate enough to be where I'm at today. Period. So.
Yeah, I think that's a big thing that people talk about and mention, and I'm glad you brought it up. It's that you don't have to be a great player or a great coach necessarily to be good at one or the other. There are coaches who end up, having not been the best of players, or players who are some of the best of all time, but may not be the best coach overall. So they're different talents, they're different philosophies and different skills, but you can be very effective at one or the other. And I think we've seen many examples of that. Now, another part of your development as far as coaching goes is when you were the coach of the Van Buren boys middle school basketball team for a little bit. I know you may remember our time there because you were my middle school boys basketball head coach for that brief period. What did that time signify for you, and how did that help you to develop your coaching skills as well?
Well, this is going to sound bad, but it kind of made me realize that I did not want to coach boys.
Gotcha. Hey,
it's not anything like it's just two completely different things. You don't have a lot of the classroom problems when you coach girls basketball, because most girls are studious and want to have good grades. And you get one every now and then that's kind of not like that, but then you don't have as much. You have different off the court stuff, I should say. More, with boys and girls. Not that coaching the middle school boys wasn't enjoyable. I did enjoy it my first time. I learned a ton of stuff that year because, I don't think you're ever ready to be a head coach until you're in the fire doing it.
Right.
You can be an assistant for forever, and I still don't know that you're ready to be the head coach. So just being able to have the opportunity to be a head coach first year out of college and learn as a middle school coach, I think was invaluable to me.
Yeah, I think it certainly can help a lot to get those experiences when you're first starting out as a coach and whatever level you're in, and I'm sure that did help you out in a lot of different ways. There's one experience, because like I mentioned, I was one of your players back when I was in my 7th grade year, and there's one moment that I distinctly remember from a JV game. Now, I don't know if you're going to remember this, but I went up to shoot a 3, I think from just beyond the top of the key, and I airballed it horribly. And I just remember turning to the sideline, and you had the most disapproving look. You were shaking your head, and I was like, oh, man, I've done messed up. Do you remember that, out of curiosity?
I do not.
Ah, man. Well, that really stuck in my mind, because I was like, that was one of the first times I'd ever shot a 3 in an actual game. And I was like, never doing that again. But hey, I was like, I'm going to be bold. I'm going to see what happens. And didn't work out. But hey, you got to give it a try. So one thing I remembered is be more careful with shot selection. And that's one thing that even you just nodding from the sideline helped to teach me. Now, eventually you did move on, like you mentioned, to be the head coach of the Van Buren Eaglettes, which you are now. What were your first few years of being the coach of the Van Buren Eaglettes like, and how have they changed or differed from the last few?
When I first took over, we graduated a borderline, just underneath a 3,000-point score and a 1,000-point score from that senior class. So obviously graduated a lot of scoring and a lot of talent. So we had a hodgepodge of different people starting, and new kids that come out that didn't play before, that end up being huge impact players for us that year and the next year. But I think we had to do a lot of skill development stuff and a lot of just to try to get, because we weren't on the surface level. If somebody on the outside looking in looked at those two teams, like, oh, they're not as talented as the team was before. And obviously, we weren't offensively, but I think we eventually got there towards the end of the year. I mean, we went to a sub-state game that year, lost to a very good Pickett County team in the sub-state. So I think reaching the sub-state game my first year was huge for those girls' confidence and the girls we had coming up later on. When you can continue success after graduating 4,000 points, I think that says a lot about the kids that I had. And then how it's different from now, these kids that I've got now that are seniors, they've really been playing. I mean, one of them went in as an 8th grader in a sub-state game for a little bit because we were in foul trouble. So they've been playing. A lot of them's been playing varsity basketball for a long time, and it looked like that. It kind of looked very similar to those first 2 years, as in when they were younger. Did a lot of skill development stuff, trying to get them to improve, and player development's huge.
Yeah.
If you're not developing your players, then you're not building yourself for long-term success, and I think it's vital. But now it's kind of more still skill development stuff because I've got younger kids that I've got to get developed because they're going to have to be ready to go next year. But a lot more strategy stuff involved now, and a lot more what's this read kind of looking like. And as I like to, we like to teach the game of basketball and play basketball, and not have the kids be complete robots out there. And I know there's drastically different coaching styles on that. Some people want their kids to be robots and run to spot A, B, and whatever, so on down the line. But I want my kids to be able to play basketball and play free and play with each other.
Yeah, I love the philosophy that you have, because you are, like you mentioned, very much into player development. And even in my short time with you as my coach, I definitely got that from you. And heck, that's not the only sport that you've coached over the years. I think you coached golf for a little bit there, and that was another sport that you were my coach for. And even in that sport, you're all about development. And that's one of the things I've noticed. By the way, you got any fun memories of being the golf coach?
Well, I mean, just the whole season was fun. I mean, I got to go out there and hit golf balls too, and play on the range and play a little bit in between when I was going to check on you guys. So, that whole thing was fun. It was definitely a good experience. You learn other things when you coach other sports too. Yeah. About different strategies and that kind of stuff, and how, because it's individual sport instead of a team sport. So, anytime you can broaden your horizons, I think you're doing a good job.
Yeah, I agree. And those van rides back were some entertaining times. We had some good memories. I'm sure you remember that. Do you still have the little, I guess for lack of a better term, putting green in your room that you used to have? Because I remember we'd go into PE class and it would be over there.
I've still got it somewhere. It's not in my room anymore, but it's somewhere around there.
Okay, I was just curious about that because we used to practice on that thing a little bit. It was actually pretty solid, so that's cool. Getting back into the basketball stuff, though, as far as what you've seen in the landscape, and this is just a general question, and you can answer it however you want, but do you think high school basketball as a sport, I mean, we see tremendous changes in college athletics these days. Have there been changes you've noticed on the high school front, or has it remained kind of the same, or, is there anything that you've noticed over the years in that respect?
I think for the most part it's the same. Of course, we've got the one-time transfer rule coming into effect July 1 of this year. Yeah. So I think, that's going to, I don't think it's going to change the landscape drastically at Van Buren County High School, but everything trickles down, right? So eventually it may, but I think most of it's still the same. You show up and you do what you need to do, and you learn life skills and have fun playing a sport and win some games, lose some games. But I've had a few kids transfer in even with the current rules in place over the last few years. It's been a big help. So I've definitely benefited from some transfer students. I'm excited about the rule, to be honest with you, because my whole thing on that is like if you're in a job that's not treating you good or paying you enough, you're going to go search for another opportunity. Why can't these kids? So that's my whole thing on that.
Yeah, and I'm very curious to see how that will impact high school basketball and high school athletics in general. It's going to be a new frontier in some ways, and
I think it's going to impact football more than basketball, but that's my 2 cents.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with you on that one. And as somebody who's pretty, I'd say I follow the high school sports scene a pretty decent amount these days. It's definitely been a big talking point, and I'm curious to see how that'll continue to affect the future. Now, we've only got a little more time left in this segment. I did want to ask, as far as those first few years that you were the coach of the girls team, you got any standout memories or games that really kind of helped you develop more and that stick with you even to this day?
I would say my first year, the region semifinal game against Silverdale. It's my first year. It's their coach's first year. We both still coach these schools, and we're pretty good buddies. We talk a lot now, share film and stuff, et cetera, when we play somebody. But they had a really good team, and we ran like a little inverted triangle and 2 thing on them, and beat them. And one of my senior point guards, she had 30 points in that game, and that's what helped us punch our ticket to my first ever sub-state game. So that's a big one that sticks out in the memories for sure.
Yeah, I'd say that will. And as somebody, I used to call a lot of the Van Buren girls basketball games back in my high school days, and there were a lot of games that stuck out, some good memories for sure. So I can probably attest to a few of those myself. We'll get more into that in just a little bit. We're going to take a quick time out here on All Sports Talk. When we do come back, we'll talk about this year's Van Buren Eaglettes and their journey back to the Glass House. All that and more coming up next on All Sports Talk.
Lace up your best kicks for a night of impact benefiting First Shot. Join us for the annual Sneaker Ball presented by Venture Express. Spend Sunday, April 26th with NFL Hall of Famer and Super Bowl MVP Marcus Allen. The event kicks off at 6 with a VIP meet and greet at 5. Reserve your table today. Call Coach Andy Herzer at 615-631-5312. We'll see you at the Sneaker Ball benefiting First Shot on April 26th.
Parks Auction Company will get you top dollar for your property.
Auctions are easy, fast, and profitable.
You have a staff that comes to your home. They walk you through it. It's been my experience. What I thought I should get for my home, I got much more for it.
Call Parks Auction and Realty or visit parksauction.com.
Parks Auction Company will get you top dollar for your property.
Parks Auction Company, committed to auction excellence.
Hold it to you, 27 and a half.
It's time for the Doug Young Educator of the Month, proudly sponsored by City Tile and Floor Covering on Spring Street. We're over at Siegel Middle School to celebrate a teacher who really goes the extra mile. 7th grade ELA specialist Eva Carroll. As part of the 7C team, Miss Carroll does more than just teach English. She helps her students find their own voices. She is known for making literature click and for creating a classroom where every kid feels like they belong. Whether she's collaborating with her team or mentoring a student, her passion for Siegel Middle is impossible to miss. For her incredible heart and hard work, our Doug Young Educator of the Month, sponsored by City Tile and Floor Covering, receives a gift certificate to Toots and a beautiful plaque from L&K Trophy. Congratulations, Eva Carroll at Siegel Middle School, and thanks for all you do. To nominate your favorite teacher, go to wgnsradio.com/educator.
You know, everyone has a more. First, it's a pony. Then to be on the cheer squad. Your more grows up just like you do. But your more can still carry you away or make you cheer. At First Bank, banking local gets you more. More of our time, more access to local bankers, more flexibility, and more product choices. Because getting more empowered and confident helps you pursue your more. That never grows old. First Bank. Bank local, get more. Member FDIC.
The residents at Stones River Manor love the environment.
I just really like it. Of course, I'm in an apartment and I can come and go and do kind of what I want to.
Stones River Manor, serving the community since 1977.
My husband felt much better when he passed away that I was taken care of here. We got married in 58 and in 60 he went in Air Force.
Stones River Manor in Murfreesboro, near the intersection of Haynes Drive and Memorial Boulevard.
Good afternoon. We're still dealing with some rain out here in certain areas as traffic cranks up pretty good through Madison. 65 starting to get a little bit heavier in the last few minutes passing OHB. It's slow there. 65 north at Rivergate Parkway. That's going to be that way for quite some time. Again, extra travel time out here is definitely needed. Don't let a slipping transmission make things worse on your car or truck. Bring it to the transmission experts at Amco Transmissions, 1212 Gallatin Pike in Madison. I'm Commander Chuck with your on-time traffic.
It's all sports talk from the Good Neighbor Network, FM 1019, 100.5, AM 1450, wgnsradio.com, and Big G TV.
Welcome back here on All Sports Talk. Dylan Simmons with you, and it is an exciting time if you're a fan of high school sports, college sports, all kinds of stuff going on. Of course, make sure you stay tuned on WGNS throughout the week. Conference USA tournament action for MTSU men's and women's basketball starts tomorrow. You'll be able to hear that on the Blue Raider Network. And, of course, we've got state tournament high school basketball starting tomorrow, girls action. That will also be here on WGNS, so make sure you stay tuned for all of that. Should be an exciting week and an exciting weekend of sports action here in the Mid-State. We are talking with Tyler Sapp of the Van Buren girls basketball team, one of those teams that will be in the Glass House tomorrow night, bright and early at 8:45. So it's going to be a late game, but still should be exciting and looking forward to it. Coach Sapp, there's obviously been a lot of hoopla in Van Buren County, not just this year, but over the last few years about this Van Buren Eaglettes girls basketball team. When the year started with this year's squad, what did you and your team feel like was possible?
We thought winning the state championship was possible, especially when you get to that game last year, and lose by 3. That was one of the goals we set, was obviously to get back to the state tournament, but to be back in that championship game. Everybody's good when you get down here, so nothing's going to be easy and nothing's going to be guaranteed. But that's one of our goals, and I think it's a good goal to have.
Yeah, I think it's a great goal to have, and like you mentioned, you guys were on the doorstep last year bringing home a state championship and had a great run throughout the tournament, got the team a state runner-up, so a really good season a year ago, and here you are back in the state tournament again. But when you talk about the story of this year specifically, is there a theme or description you could use with this iteration of the squad? And if there is, what would it be in your mind?
I think just... it's a good question. It's not something I've really thought too much about because we just try to get down to business and do what we're supposed to do. And, I guess, one of the things that I constantly tell them is control what you can control. And, that's like the lifeblood of one of my messages. We can't control anything outside of our own person, right? You can't control whether or not your shots are going in, but we can control your energy and your effort level. So that's one of our big talking points. I think too, just for us to make it back to the state tournament after that, it's a lot of pressures on everybody involved. You don't want it to seem like you underachieved, if that makes sense. So I just think that there's been a ton of pressure on me, on myself, including self-induced, obviously, but. And then I think the kids have felt a lot of pressure to try to get back there, and we have so.
Yeah, and as somebody, like I said, I've mentioned a lot, but somebody who grew up in Spencer and went to Van Buren County High School, basketball is as big as anything, I think, in the county as far as community support, people being involved and people being interested in it. And that, I would think, would almost amplify the pressure even more. So it's amazing what you and this team have been able to do as far as understanding the weight of that pressure and living up to the challenge anyway. It's been really impressive to watch it, even from the sidelines over the past few years. And heck, I'm just excited to see the game tomorrow night. We'll get more into that later, but really, really impressed and proud of what you guys have been able to do so far. Now, obviously, there is a wealth of talent on this team, but as far as the standouts go, there are some special players all around, but what do players like Abigail Netherton and Kara Mills bring to the table on a night-to-night basis for this team?
Well, when Abigail, Abigail can score as good as anybody in the state, I feel like. when you've got an offensive threat like her on the floor, you're obviously tough to beat. Kara's impact sometimes it shows up on the scoreboard and on the stat sheet, but lots of times it don't because she's 6'3", long arms, good hands. She allows us to get away with so much stuff defensively from our guards, be able to get out and pressure more and take away passing angles and that kind of stuff, because if they do get by them, then they're 6'3" waiting down there. She affects so many shots around the basket that helps us be as good defensively as we are, and we're not as good defensively without her in the game, just because of her impact and her size. And then she's got, the last 2 games we've played, she's had 21 rebounds and 18 rebounds. So that number right there in and of itself, it speaks for itself. So they're 2 huge impact players for us, and they're a good 1-2 punch combo on the offensive side of the floor, because if you're going to double Abigail, then it's kind of hard to double Kara too. And then we've got a good supporting cast around them who can make shots and are high IQ players, know when to cut when that double team goes to Kara and or Gail.
Yeah, tremendous talent all over the floor for this Van Buren Eaglettes team, not just Kara and Abigail, by the way. And you could spend, I'm sure, a long time on all of them talking about how they each contribute in their own way. Following up on that, you mentioned kind of how you guys play, what your style usually is. What is your philosophy in your mind, if you could answer, as a team when you get out there on the floor? What are you guys trying to accomplish against your opponent more often than not?
Well, usually that's on the defensive side of the floor, and it's to make them take the shots that we want them to take. We don't want any wide open threes, any uncontested threes for sure. But we say open, but we if they're going to take a three, we want it to be contested. We like to try to make people hit that 15 to 8, whatever, however long far the 3-point line is, 19 feet, whatever, just inside the 3-point line to about 15 feet. We want to try to make them take those shots and make them to beat us, just because you're going to be, it's a lower percentage shots. It's worth 2 points. And if somebody can do that and beat us, then that's the way it's going to be. But that's kind of our whole thing. No layups, or as few layups as possible. Everybody's, that's what I tell them all the time. Your defense is never going to be perfect because people can score, right?
Right.
So, you're never going to hold a team to 0. People are going to score. People are going to get layups. People are going to get open threes. It's just limiting the amount of those things that happen and making them take the tough shots that we want them to take.
Yeah, and I love hearing that insight from a coach, because you get to kind of get a sense of how a team operates and what they're trying to accomplish on a game-to-game basis, and it's cool to kind of look under the hood and see what makes a team the way they are. So I really appreciate that analysis, kind of the ins and outs of what happens on the floor. Now, I think this is a pretty easy question for me to ask, but if you were to compare where the Eaglettes were at the start of the year to where they are now, how have you guys improved, and what have you gotten better at overall in your mind?
I think just playing together for the most part. I feel like we did that well at the end of last year, and we've struggled with it a little bit in the middle of the season. But as these games get tighter and as people cue on Kara and Abigail more, other kids have stepped up, and it's just that time of the year when you need kids to step up and play at their best, and I think we're doing that right now. So I think just being able to play more together as a team is kind of what we've improved upon the most. I think also our defensive communication and our intensity has gotten better since those first few initial games that we played. So those 2 things.
Yeah, 100%. And I think that's been reflected in what you guys have been able to do during this postseason run. Now, you were able to bring back, and a lot of the talent from last year's team is back once again this year. And I'm sure that having that cohesiveness as a roster and players who've already played together for a number of years certainly helps. How does that impact the play on the floor? And I'm sure you could answer this as a yes, but is it a major advantage, you think, for you guys?
Yeah, I think it is. It's kind of one of those things, is like to not overcoach it.
Right.
because they trust each other. They know where each other's going to be at. We graduated nobody last year from that state runner-up team. So really, they've had 2 complete full seasons playing together. Like I said, they know where each other's going to be at. They know how each other plays, their strengths, how they want to play. So sometimes it's just my job to not get in the way, because they know what they're doing. They know what to do. Because sometimes I think basketball is the most overcoached sport that we have. Sometimes you just got to let your kids play.
Yeah, sometimes that's all it comes down to, and I'll tell you what, you cannot put a price on veteran leadership and team chemistry, and that's one thing for sure that this Van Buren Eaglettes team certainly has. When you look through the tournament that this team has been on so far, through the tournament run in the postseason, there have been some really good squads that you guys have faced off with. What are some of the more memorable ones, the ones that stick out to you, and how did you guys have to prepare or adjust in some of those games that you guys have played this postseason?
Well, the one that sticks out the most is probably Copper Basin. They're way over there at the North Carolina line, down there in Copper Hill. So we don't really see a lot of them throughout the year. They play a lot of North Carolina teams, a lot of Georgia teams, so you don't really know what you're getting in. I mean, they're good. They were at the state tournament last year. They got a good record. They score a lot of points. So they're good going in, but you just don't you don't know how good, right?
Right.
And I think we ended up beating them by 10 or so in the region championship game. But we had to adjust they had a kid that was just going bananas on us. Like I said, hitting those shots that we want them to take, but she was hitting a little too many of them. So we went back to that inverted triangle and 2 thing there in the third quarter, and it slowed them down just enough for us to build a lead back. That before they figured it out, that we was able to keep that double-digit lead there for the most part. So I think that, and then of course Jackson County in the sub-state. Anytime you're going up against Jim Brown, who's won multiple state championships and 600 career wins and such, you've got to be on your A game, and I think we were. The girls were up for the challenge on that, and didn't have to make too many adjustments on that. We had to guard some kids closer than what we normally would, because they had shooters everywhere. But other than that, those are about the 2 that stick out the most.
Yeah, and I think that's a great demonstration. Some of the teams you mentioned, Copper Basin, Jackson County, that 1A basketball certainly flourishing right now, folks. A lot of great teams that are competing out there for a state championship, Van Buren among those. Now, playing in the Eagles Nest, the home of the Van Buren Eaglettes and Eagles basketball teams, obviously, I'm sure a huge luxury for you guys. It's incredible, that environment, especially when it gets raucous. I can say it's still one of the best places as a former student and broadcaster there that I've been able to just watch a game of basketball. What did it mean for this team to not only win there as often as they did this season, but to punch their ticket to the state tournament at the Eagles Nest this past weekend?
Yeah, that's one of our goals at the beginning of the year is to have a sub-state game at home. You're one game away from the state tournament. If you win, you're going. If you lose, you're going home on your home floor as region champions. That's one of our goals every year is to win the region, host a sub-state game at home. But it was loud, it was crazy there Saturday night, and it definitely helped us. It impacted Jackson County a lot, I think. Our student section right there, behind the goal on the stage, they're always crazy, going bonkers over there. So, it's a huge atmosphere for us. It's a huge home court advantage. You mentioned how many games we won there. We only lost 1 game at home all year,
right.
And that was to White County, who's a 3A school that's in the state tournament in the 3A bracket. Lost them in overtime by 5. And that team beat us at White County by 30 right after Christmas. So that's how much of an impact playing at home has for us. It's invaluable to us, the community support and everybody's coming out and being loud, and it's huge for us to be able to play at home.
Yeah, that like I said, that environment is something else. And I don't know if it's just the way it's built or whatever the case is, but man, when it gets loud, it gets loud. And I've had the fortunate opportunity to call games in college venues and for 4A schools, but there is still something about the Eagles Nest that really just stands out among all of those that I've been able to call for. So it's really special to be able to experience something like that. Final thoughts before we send it to the break. Obviously, you guys are in practice mode right now. We'll get more into this in the next segment for the state tournament. And as I understand it, you guys either have practiced or are going to practice at Tennessee Tech for this upcoming state tournament game. So talk a little bit about that if you can.
Yeah, we went there this morning. And it's always good to just go get a little bit of a feel of a little bit bigger arena. I think the biggest thing, I was actually telling somebody this today when we stopped and ate lunch. There's a referee in there, and he was talking to me. I don't think, a lot of people like all the open air behind the goal. I don't think that's as big an issue as like all the different lines being on the floor down there.
Right.
Of course, it's much better this year. The women's line is like covered up, I think, or gone. So that's a big help, because I think the biggest thing is our kids are so used to playing at a certain spot and at a certain line, and then there's 3 lines: the high school line, the college women's line, and the men's college line on there, that they want to stand behind the college men's line. And then we're just not most teams are not used to shooting at that kind of range. So I think that has a bigger impact on shooting than all the open space behind the goal. But it's good to get them in that kind of environment and say, not to be like the old Hoosiers thing of, hey, this goal's 10 foot tall. It's the same thing everywhere. But not to get that cliche, but just to get them in there, get them used to, because our court at home is like 84 feet, and that court's like 94 or whatever it is.
Right.
So 10 to 8 feet longer than our court at home. So it's good to get them up and down on a court that size, and just get them a little feel for it. We was able to practice for an hour. Big shout out to Tennessee Tech for allowing us to do that. It's good for the girls. Get them out, it's a little field trip for them, essentially. Some team building. We got to go eat lunch and stuff, and just make memories for the kids.
Absolutely. Sure it was an awesome experience. Well, we're going to take one more break. When we come back, we'll finish up with some final thoughts on the upcoming state tournament matchup / potential matchups for this Eaglettes squad, and we'll have the Blue Raider Insider Report with Mr. Chip Walters. All that more coming up on the other side of the break on All Sports Talk.
Whether you need general vehicle upkeep and maintenance or a complete vehicle overhaul, Hall's Auto Care is here for you. We're locally owned and operated by Greg Hall and have been in business since 2014. You'll get excellent service and trustworthy advice with Hall's Auto Care. A+ rated with the Better Business Bureau. We're ready to help get you safely on the road. Hall's Auto Care, 907 Ridgely Road, just off Broad Street behind Chili's. Online at hallsautocare.net. Hall's Auto Care.
At State Farm, when home and auto work as a team, you score and save money. I'm State Farm agent Andy Wama. Give me a call at 615-890-0850 and let's work together to win big by saving money on home and auto. With the service you get from State Farm, you might think our car insurance costs more. I'm State Farm agent Andy Wama. Give me a call at 615-890-0850 and let me show you with discounts up to 40%. You may find it even costs less.
WGNS. Our family at Demas's Restaurant are proud to support local emergency responders who put their lives on the line for our community each and every day. This is Peter Demas, and here is this week's Demas's Emergency Responder of the Week.
Murfreesboro police officer Dustin Nicholson talked a woman off the bridge over I-24 on the Medical Center Parkway. She'd climbed over the railing and was moments before falling. Officer Nicholson spoke to her calmly, trying to ease her panic. When words were no longer enough, he quickly secured her and pulled the woman back to safety. Thank you, Murfreesboro Police Officer Dustin Nicholson.
When you see a firefighter, police officer, paramedic, or telecommunicator going the extra mile, let WGNS know, and we at Demas's Restaurant will salute them as the Emergency Responder of the Week.
Next on All Sports Talk, it's the Blue Raider Insider Report with Chip Walters of Exit Realty, Bob Lamb & Associates.
Well, good afternoon, everybody. Blue Raider baseball had a big bounce back yesterday. Middle now 10-7 after a 17-0 win over Eastern Kentucky behind a historic performance from first baseman Tyler Minnick. A native of Smyrna, Georgia, Minnick became the first Blue Raider since 2016 to notch 3 doubles in a game. Overall, Minnick went 3 for 4 from the dish with 4 RBIs while scoring 3 times to pair with his trio of 2-baggers. While Middle Tennessee made tons of noise in the batter's box, the production the Blue Raiders received on the mound set the tone for Tuesday's victory. Senior right-hander Bryant Baranek earned the starting nod for the first time this year and turned in one of his best performances as a Blue Raider. The 6'3" right-hander tossed 4 1/3 innings for Middle, striking out 4 Colonel hitters while walking none. Eastern Kentucky only tacked 3 hits on Baranek's line. Following Baranek out of the bullpen, Landon Sexton worked out of a lone jam that EKU's offense pushed against the Raiders. The Colonels loaded the bases with 2 outs after Sexton walked shortstop Pedro Moreno, but squandered the opportunity after Sexton slammed the door with a strikeout. Mason Dobbs and Jack Bordner each threw scoreless innings to get the Blue Raiders to the finish line, securing the team's second win by 17 this year. Blue Raiders open up conference play on Friday at home. They'll host the Kennesaw Owls all weekend at Reese-Smith Field. Men's golf finished third Tuesday at the Louisiana Classics at Oakbourne Country Club in Lafayette, closing the tournament with the best final round of any team in the field at 10 under par 278. Middle Tennessee surged up the leaderboard behind the strong final rounds by Connor Henry and Carter Manath. Manath paced the Blue Raiders with a second-place finish at 12 under par after rounds of 70, 66, and 68. Next up, the Raiders will compete in the Schenkel Invitational, hosted by Georgia Southern. That'll be this weekend, March 13th through the 15th in Statesboro, Georgia. Men's tennis, the Blue Raiders scheduled to play a doubleheader against number 41 Yale and Alabama A&M. The match with Yale scheduled earlier for noon today, and the Alabama A&M match just underway at 5 o'clock. You can check more on the Blue Raider men's tennis socials for information there. Also scheduled earlier for today, Middle Tennessee softball was scheduled to take on Eastern Kentucky in a midweek match at Blue Raider Field. That was scheduled for 1 o'clock earlier today. Women's tennis, the Lady Raiders traveled to Louisville for a midweek match against the Cardinals. The Blue Raiders lead the series 7-6, having defeated the Cardinals 4-1 last year. Conference USA basketball tournament got underway yesterday. Delaware knocked off the Kennesaw State women, as well as Jacksonville State knocking out UTEP. The top 2 seeds are playing today, this afternoon, in women's action. In men's play yesterday, it was Missouri State knocking out FIU 75-72. New Mexico State knocked off Jacksonville State 68-63. The top 2 seeds, Liberty and Sam Houston, are playing today. Middle will be playing tomorrow. The Blue Raider ladies will play at 2 o'clock against Missouri State. The Blue Raider men will play at 5:30 against Louisiana Tech. There is an alumni event at 12:30, all at the Von Braun Civic Center. That's it for today, folks. We'll talk to you from the Rocket City tomorrow on the Blue Raider Network and here on WGNS.
It's all sports talk from the Good Neighbor Network, FM 1019, 100.5, AM 1450, WGNSradio.com, and Big G TV.
Welcome back to the Good Neighbor Network. This is All Sports Talk. Dylan Simmons with you live from the WGNS studio on this Wednesday, March 11th, 2026. Hope you're having a great Wednesday evening, everybody. Big-time sports action happening all across the mid-state, all across the country country, as a matter of fact. Some wild stuff with NFL free agency, trades going on all over the place. Big stuff in the NBA last night as well. We've got head coach Tyler Sapp with us from the Van Buren Eaglettes girls basketball team, the head coach. And a little bit off topic from what we've been talking about, Coach. But as a fan of basketball and somebody who I'm sure follows some NBA a little bit closely, what did you take away from Bam Adebayo's 83 points last night, the second most in NBA history?
Yeah, it's wild. I think he averages, like, for his career, 16 a game. So
yeah, I think his career high before that was 42, I want to say.
Yeah, somewhere around there, I'm sure. It's just, the dude shot 40 free throws, I think. So, anything's possible when you shoot that many free throws. The Wizards aren't very good, so it doesn't shock me at all that happens.
Yeah, I do want to ask, if you were the coach of the Wizards or on the staff, what would you have told them to do to prevent that from happening, or could you have changed something with the game plan? Because I'm like, man, just stop fouling him, or I don't know, do something else, because whatever you're doing is not working here.
Yeah, probably just stop fouling him. He was pretty good percentage from the field too, but your free throws is really what pushed him over there, because I think he hit 30-something.
Yeah. Wizards certainly have some work to do. Let's move back into the Eaglettes here. Now, this is a pretty straightforward question, but what does it mean for you and this team to take yet another trip to the Glass House here in Murfreesboro, which I believe this is the fourth time for you guys in the last 5 seasons? What does that mean to you?
It's big. To go 4 times in 5 years, 5 straight sub-states. We were very close there 2 years ago, or 3 years ago now, to making it 5 straight times. It's big. It's big for us. It's big for me. It's big for the school and the community. I've never been to the state tournament without these seniors on a team. So when this season is eventually over, it's going to be hard. It's going to be hard on me.
Yeah.
Just they're a great group of kids, and they mean a lot to the program, mean a lot to me. But no, I think anytime you can have a run like we've had here the last 5 years, I think it's you hope that you can just continue to build on it. Now, I'm not expecting to go 8 times in the next 10 years or whatever, but just know that the younger kids have that expectation, because I think that's what's the phrase, winning begets winning.
Yeah.
That's what's expected here now. Where before it was kind of always trying to get there, got there once before. So you just hope that the tradition and they understand what it takes, and they continue to grow and improve and try to get back there next year.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what, you've set a very high standard when it comes to Van Buren Eaglettes basketball and really Van Buren athletics in general, and it does mean a lot, like you talked about, to the community. As somebody who grew up in Spencer, and for those who don't know, Spencer's about probably an hour and 15, 20 minutes east of here in Murfreesboro, kind of on the Cumberland Plateau, eastern edge of Middle Tennessee. Town of about 3,000 to 4,000, county of about 6,000, 7,000 people. So it means a lot for smaller communities to get a team that's that good to go that far, and it's meant a lot to this community over the last few years to see that run. That I can personally attest of. Now, I know that coaches oftentimes don't want to focus too much on what's happened in the past. You did mention this earlier, though. You guys were 3 points away last year from winning that state championship. For the players that experience that and know what it's like to be here in this position, does that experience and memory help going into this year's tournament?
You hope you kind of hope it does. After that game, I printed the stat sheet off from it and the score, and it's still hanging in the locker room to this day. We've tried to use that as motivation. Know that we've got a team capable of making that kind of run again. We've got to play the same team we played in that state championship game last year. As soon as some of the girls saw the bracket there Saturday night after the sub-state game, in the group chat, just a revenge game. They weren't upset about it or anything like that. They were ready to go and to go out there and give everything they got.
Yeah, I can imagine there's a lot of motivation just from those circumstances coming into this tournament game. And in many ways, it can be viewed as a revenge game. And very curious to see how that matchup will play out once you guys do meet on the court tomorrow night in the Glass House. Like you mentioned, Eaglettes are going to be playing Greenfield in the first round, who you guys played in that championship final. What kind of challenge this year do you expect them to bring to the Eaglettes in this state quarterfinal matchup?
They're gonna bring a lot of pressure. They do that constantly with just about everybody they've played. Try to speed you up. Even if you break the press, they're still trying to speed you up to make you take rush shots or make you take the first shot. They want to play a really fast tempo, and we kind of play fast some too, but we not as fast as they do because of Mills in there. When 6'3", we need to try to get it inside to her as much as we possibly can. So I think just managing the tempo and we play the kind of game that we want to play, and not play their game, then we'll be right there at the end of it.
Yeah, you got to control the controllables, and I'm sure that's going to be the goal, or one of the goals for you guys tomorrow night against Greenfield. And again, this is going to be a very unique, very interesting matchup, especially with all the history coming back from a year ago and all the players returning this year for the Eaglettes. So, man, I can't wait to see how that plays out on the hardwood. As far as the message goes for this team going into the state tournament and perhaps in games to come, what are you going to try to instill in these girls as they look to fight for a state crown?
One of the things, this is a tradition that I have, but it started in 2016 when we went, when I was an assistant coach with the girls team, was, and I cannot remember who I heard say this, but he was a former Tennessee Vol player. He does motivational speaking and stuff now. You may know his name. But, this is the thing I always tell them: take advantage of the opportunity of a lifetime and a lifetime of the opportunity. You don't get this kind of chance all the time. And, the lifetime of that opportunity is 32 minutes tomorrow, and it'll never be there again. So, you got to take advantage of it. You got to go leave everything you got out there.
Yeah, I mean, no matter what you say, like you mentioned, it's a different kind of atmosphere. It's a different kind of game. These are 32 minutes that are going to be unlike any other 32 minutes you've ever had. So it kind of reminds me of that old Tim Tebow halftime locker room speech. I think it was the national title game against Oklahoma, where he says, we've got 30 minutes for the rest of our lives. And I kind of brings me back to that because in many ways it is 32 minutes that you're always going to remember, and that's going to stick with you for years to come. I mean, those are the kinds of stories. I still think about some of the cool things that I was able to do, maybe not athletically in high school, but some of the competitions I was involved in. Those stick with me, and those are still things I love to talk about, and that are great stories to tell to other people. So I think that's definitely something that I'm sure that these girls will try to bring in here. Now, before we let you go here, is there anything else that you would like to add about this upcoming state tournament game, and anything you'd like to say to the Van Buren fans who may be tuning in tonight?
It's a late one, but the girls need you there to support them. If you can make it out, because they've put in many late nights and worked really hard, and it's a culmination of everything from the last 2 years, all the practices, everything like that. So if you can show up and be loud, it'd be greatly appreciated.
Yeah, and usually, considering what I've seen from Van Buren fans over the years, they absolutely do travel. They always make their way out in a pretty good drove to the state tournament, and I'm expecting that we're going to see that again tomorrow night. Again, for those interested, 8:45 is going to be tip-off at the Murphy Center at the Glass House, and the Eaglettes taking on Greenfield in a 1A quarterfinal matchup. Spot in the semifinals on the line. Looking forward to that. Well, Coach Sapp, thank you so much for calling in tonight. I know that the preparation process for you and the Eaglettes is extensive right now, so appreciate you taking some time to come on the show with us.